Hey everyone, Roseman here with a new video. I'm going to be bringing you some tips and tricks for beginners for playing the One Piece trading card game. Let's dive on into tip number 1, which is sometimes it is better to swing before establishing your board. In this case, we're going to look at, say, a leader swing from a OP09 Monkey D. Luffy into an OP07 Vegapunk, and you can see here that in the life, the Vegapunk has the OP07 Shaka, which has a trigger. If your leader is Vegapunk, you can play this card. One of the reasons why we want to go ahead and swing with our leader in this situation instead of, trying to tack on is we pretty much know that the Vegapunk will take this hit so he can play out this Shaka. And then if we look into our hand, we have a Gum Gum Lightning from OP09. So because we didn't attach any Dawn to our leader, we could use this card to KO the Shaka when it's played, eliminating that blocker threat, then leaving us able to swing with our Trafalgar Law character to get a second hit off. Or we could just choose to starve. So sometimes it is better to, swing before you start utilizing some of your Dawn and establishing your board. Moving on to tip number 2, you need to understand sometimes it is better to just take a hit, or sometimes it's better to give counter. In this scenario, we have the Vegapunk swinging a 9k from the Lilith character to the Monkey D. Luffy's 5k leader. If we look at the cards we have in hand for the Monkey D. Luffy, you can see that we have the Gum Gum Jet Gatling and a Sanji and a Frankie, which if you combine all three of these by using the Gum Gum Jet Gatling's effect to discard either the Gum Gum Lightning or the Gamma Knife from hand, and then trashing the Sanji from hand for counter and the Frankie from hand for counter, you'd get to 10, which would save you the life, but you're gonna eat up all your hand. You're gonna have nothing left other than one card, which is gonna be probably useless to you next turn. So sometimes it's better to just take the hit, eat a life, and potentially gain something better. Moving on to tip number 3, you need to know when and how much Dawn to add when attacking. In this situation, we're looking at the Vegapunk having no cards in hand, which means that you don't really need to swing, big characters. We could swing the 5k leader into the 5k Lilith, and we know that he's going to have to lose the Lilith because he has nothing to counter up to 6,000. That leaves you some utility in saying, okay, well, I have all this extra Dawn open. I could do some other stuff. I can leave some Dawn open in case I need to play some event cards for counter. I can put some other characters I wouldn't normally put on the board. You can establish this blocker Frankie that's in hand. So there's times where you need to understand that swinging, a full out isn't really beneficial. You'd get a lot more utility in being able to just deal with these problems when you are looking at the math in hand. Moving on to tip number 4, sometimes it is better to control the board rather than be aggressive. In this situation, we're looking at a pretty established board on both sides. You've got the Vegapunk with 4 characters, 3 of them being 5k and 1 being a 6k, plus having a Shaka loaded into life, so if you're swinging into life, he's just going to have a blocker, which is essentially 2 free hits for the Vegapunk. So you may consider here, using your Dawn and, placing it on some characters and getting some of these characters from your opponent's board off board. I know it's exciting sometimes to think that I can potentially have lethal if I swing properly, but it doesn't hurt to be cautious and, clean up that board, keep yourself in a much stronger position. Just in case, you never know. Moving on to tip number 5, check your opponent's trash. It's worthwhile to know how much counter is already been used, or what kind of cards they've got in their trash. So in this case, we can see that the Vegapunk has trashed 1 of the EBO2 Vegapunks, 2 of the OPO8 Namis, 1 of the OPO7 Shaka, and 1 of the OPO7 Usopp. So all in all, the Vegapunk has already used up around 6,000 counter, which isn't anything to laugh at. But now okay, we've got a 2K in the trash, and we've got some other cards. And this can help you in the future too if you're looking at scenarios where your opponent might be playing something out of trash, or has some kind of card that lets them do stuff, sending cards from trash back to deck. So always check your opponent's trash. Never be afraid to ask them to do that. Tip number 6, if you don't understand a card, ask your opponent if you can read the card. It's always beneficial to know what a card does before you commit to getting rid of it. In this case, we know that the OPO7 Pythagoras has an on-KO ability. So when that character is KO'd, it can summon a 4-cost or below character with the Egghead type from their trash if your opponent has 2 or less life. So understanding the qualifiers for that card should play into a factor of when you should and shouldn't try to get rid of that card. In this case, we see that the Vegapunk does have 3 life, so it might be worthwhile trying to remove this Pythagoras now, rather than dealing with it later when your opponent's at lower life and could get some benefit out of it. And looking back at tip number 5, you can look in their trash and see if they have any targets for this Pythagoras. Because if they don't have any targets, then it's okay to go ahead and get rid of it whenever. Moving on to tip 7, don't be afraid to use and sometimes save your blockers. I know I've been guilty in a lot of matches of holding on to a blocker, waiting for that perfect opportunity, and then getting screwed over because I just didn't utilize that blocker at the right time. That's what they're there for. They're there so you can get a free hit, or, in this case, maybe the attack's just too big for you to want to try to counter out of, and, okay, let's use the blocker, and then let's counter another attack. So just don't be afraid to utilize your blockers. That's what they're built for. Tip number 8 is to learn what the different colors are known for. So typically, this is all just broad understanding, but this is generally how most of these colors play. Red is known for being aggro and having a lot of fast attacks, a lot of rush. Green is known for resting and freezing characters. Blue is known for doing board control by sending to hand or deck. Purple is known for dawn manipulation, whether that's up or down. Black is known for removal and cost reduction of characters. And then yellow is known for life manipulation and triggers. Knowing what each color typically does can help you to understand how to better play a match. And that leads into tip number 9, which is simply just practice, practice, practice. Practice will make perfect. Don't go into your first match, or hell, even your second or third or fourth or 10th or 12th match, thinking that you're going to win every single match. You're going to come across people who have played a lot more than you, and that's okay. We're going to practice. We're going to learn how to play the game. We're going to get better at playing the game. And eventually you're going to find yourself making less mistakes and making better calls than you usually would have made. And last but not least, the final tip I have for you guys. Just remember, it's a game. We're here to have fun. Make friends, go to locals, enjoy the community. It is a card game. It's meant for us to have fun and to enjoy ourselves. Don't stress. That's the last tip I've got for you guys. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you have any thoughts or comments or tips of your own, please leave them down in the comment section below. And with that, remember, good luck and have fun. See ya.